Welcome to the D&D.
Welcome back. This is Dark Valentine 1984 coming back. As promised, here is the second review in the Dungeons & Dragons Arcade series known as Dungeons & Dragons Shadow of Mystara. Now, in this particular game, it is taking place just 2 years after the Tower of Doom, as you see on the storyline before you. Now, a big difference between the first and second one is the second one got a major visual overhaul as far as graphics are concerned. They've become sharper, more clearer. The controls have become less and less stiff. They're more fluent now. As you can see, if you're playing one-player mode, you have a grid at the bottom displaying what extra stuff you can get. You can do more attacks. You can actually do dash moves. You can run better. You can run in a diagonal way if you want to. The storyline is pretty much on a more solid level. Again, you get one life. If you just so happen to actually try to get as far as you can. The range of weapons still is a big thing. Now, another noticeably different thing about this game is if you play as the Celeric, the magic user, the dwarf, or the elf, you have at least more skills this time. Instead of gaining them from scrolls like you did on the first one, they're basically with your character this time around. And also, the higher level in skills you get, the better and more spectacular your magic will be. Same thing for your strength as well. You can also do a lot more as far as maneuvering around while going through enemies, if need be. Now, here I am playing the second stage here. As you can see, the backgrounds, pretty much almost everything still looks the same, except the fact that even the enemies, the AI on some enemies, depending on the class of enemy, they're a little bit more smarter this time around. Some enemies can actually block your attacks, unlike the first one. So they've gained a little intelligence there. And also, if you notice, any items you get, if an enemy can hit you right, your item may break, or it may become damaged to where you can't use it as much. You have to be aware of this. Now, as you see, I've switched to a different magic, which was called Magic Missile. I'm sure they got some people who are very familiar with this. Now, you have not only your magic sets, your primary, you also have secondary magic that you can use if you're a magic user. On top of that, you also have a complete arsenal of extra items you can use, like the bow and arrows. Well, for the elf, she has unlimited arrows, so it means I can use it as much as I want, unless I get a special arrow, such as a silver or flame arrows. So they'll just use ice storm. That's one of the secondary attacks. Well, primary magic attacks. Also, you gain other items that are more like one-time use items. They're very hard to find in some stages, but sometimes easy as well. Now, the boss, again, they have enemy dialogue this time around. It kind of makes the game, well, I'm not going to say kind of, it really does make the game more fun if the enemies can talk back to you. That gives you a reason to whoop their ass more. Now, at least on this one, the way the screen is set up, seeing the energy meter is a lot more easier than you would at the top. It's at the bottom. Also, when you switch to a different item or skill, it's displayed at the top. Except for your items, they're mainly displayed on the menu. Also, the way you defend is pretty much the same. You just hold your attack button and you just move backwards. But you can also attack and jump back. Again, your range of movement, the way you can interact, the way you can execute commands, all of it is different this time around. And this gives the game a higher replay value than the first one. A way higher replay value. Also, the music is a lot better as well. The 4-player action may not be as easy to see on this one as it was on the first one, but the replay value of this one is a lot higher than the Tower of Doom, and I highly recommend that you get this one as well. But if you want to really start off on Dungeons & Dragons, then Tower of Doom would be the one to do it. Unless you just want to go ahead and get to the fast action, then you can go here. So anyway, as you've noticed, you have different classes. We have the same usual classes, except that this time you have 2 extra classes. You have Magic User and you have Thief. Now, again, each class is different depending on what you do. Some may be able to cast magic and some may not. Also, your weapons will play a big part in this particular one, unlike the first one. As you see, the different items that you pick up throughout the stage could play a different role later on, as long as you don't get them broken. Now here we are, as you can see, the running animation is a little bit more fluent, though it's just like the first one. This game is pretty rock solid. I mean, I have to give Capcom its credit. It's really outdone itself in games such as Dungeons & Dragons, both Tower of Doom and Shadow of Mystara. The game itself, again, is a recommended game for multiplayer. If you have the Wing Coyote Simulator, I highly recommend you and a couple of online friends playing this game. That, to me, right here is just all-out badassery and complete fun. I wouldn't tell you or steer you wrong with this kind of game, for the simple fact that it's just a fun party game overall. And if you want to take out your anger on something, then this is pretty much the game to do. Now, I'm going to go ahead here and stop talking for a minute and at least try to beat a few more enemies, or at least try to do what I can. So let's go back to the gameplay. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention while I am at it. You've probably seen it in the early parts of the second level, to where leaves were flying around the elf. Unlike the first one, on the second one you can do counterattacks, pretty much, or like a special move, pretty much like they would on Final Fight, except that it does consume energy, just like Final Fight, so it's really not to be expected. Just press the attack and jump button at the same time, and each character has their own way of doing it. For most magic users, they're going to use magic. If you're just a fighter, you're going to use your weapon some kind of way. It's pretty much the same basic formula for most of these Capcom beat-em-ups. But I can really say this particular Capcom beat-em-up, along with Tower of Doom, makes it just that much more special in this type of game. Whether if you're playing by yourself, smashing a few enemies, slicing them up, dicing them up, or if you're just trying to go ahead and play through this game for the hell of it. I mean, it's pretty much on the fun side. And again, I'm not trying to hate on anybody who likes the card game a little bit better than this. For those who just have not seen this type of game in arcades and don't expect Capcom to do such a game, then you really have no idea what you're missing out on. Now, they have some people that may think a little bit off about a game such as this because it'll remind them so much of World of Warcraft. That's because they're only going by what they see and what they know about other games instead of actually just checking out certain games in particular. Now, see, there it is. The character select that I mentioned before in the first video that you can do that you couldn't do on the first game. You can actively switch to another character, which is what I think they should have done on the first one, but hey, everything has to start some kind of way, somewhere. Now, as you see, I have the magic user, who is able to use an attack called the elemental, which means that conjuring the elements, basically air, earth, wind, and fire, basically, to his advantage, since he is a definite user of magic, or the magic arts. Now, boss battles, again, Sometimes, well, I'm not going to say it. Sometimes they may get repetitive depending on what you're looking for in that particular boss battle. But to me, I think it's pretty much unique. And yes, they do have the split scenario system on here as well. Again, depending on which road you take, you can go to a different part of the game. There are also more hidden rooms, more items, more ways to play this game, unlike the first one. And the action just constantly keeps on going. And the way you buy items is a lot better too. A big tip if you want to find out things about the next path you're going to, it's a good thing to go ahead and talk to the shopkeeper, because the shopkeeper may give you hints and tips on what's going on in the next area that you may need to know about later on, just to prepare yourself. It never hurts to be prepared in such a game as this. Overall, if I had to rate this game between a 1 and a 10, I would definitely give this game a perfect 10, hands down, just for being all that good, one hell of a multiplayer, and a very excellent game to play as far as action is concerned and everything else. Well, this video is just about up. That does it for both Dungeons & Dragons games. This is Dark Valentine 1984 from Mugen Infantry, signing out.